Oh.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, Kelly, how are you? Hello, Sandra, welcome. Eddie.
I'm going to be bouncing between like 3 different things, but I always want to keep a pulse on CommUniverCity as the experience.
Oh, it's awesome. Thanks. Yeah, how's everything going in the pandemic environment?
Well, our services move pretty well to virtual because we have all the online applications, but all the counselors have found it much more tiring to counsel in the virtual environment because it's not the same interaction with the students. Whereas most of us are energized by meeting with students, it's draining in the world.
Are the students able to make good connections out to industry? Are they doing well even with the pandemic?
Actually, there are lots of students that feel like our virtual career fairs are better because they don't have to wait in line, and so they're in complete control of their own schedule. So I mean, we've had students that have reported seeing crazy numbers of employers at our events, whereas they wouldn't have ever been able to do that in a live event. But of course, there's just as many that say this stinks. I don't get to actually interact, and
Right.
But you can't please all the people all of the time.
Oh yeah, there's always pros and cons.
Yeah.
Oh, well, great. Well, welcome. And I see a few others joined. Allison Johnson joined. Thank you for joining. Welcome. And Eric Johnson joined. Welcome. Thank you for joining. And hopefully Deanna will join soon. It's 12 o'clock. So should we give maybe everyone about another minute join? Oh, hello, Navrati Saxena. Nice to meet you. Hello. Hi, thanks for joining. I'm Michael Oy. Thank you for joining. Great to meet you. Julian Ha, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. Soon Jung Lee, Marcella McCollum, and Gina. Hi, Gina. Thanks for helping to set it up. Organizing and the coordinating and everything.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And Deanna as well, of course.
And Deanna, yeah, thank you. Yeah. And Deanna, I guess should we just wait for Deanna to join?
Yeah, she's got it on her calendar, so she should be here.
Hongjun Shao, nice to meet you. Thank you for joining. Welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too. Let's see. Jose Luis Ruiz Duarte, thank you for joining. Nice to meet you. I'm Michael Oy. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Michael. Nice to meet you too.
Hi. So we're just waiting for Deanna. I think Gina said that this event's on Deanna's calendar, so she should be able to join. Charles Park. Hello, Charles Park. Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon.
Hi. Afternoon. We're just gonna wait an extra minute or so here for Deanna. Hopefully she'll be able to join us soon. If not, we can probably get started. So maybe we'll wait till 12:02 maybe.
Yeah, I can also.
And then I can start sharing my screen. I'll at least get it started so that we can start seeing the slides. Let me get the slides. Let's see, how do I exit out here? Exit. More. Let's see, how do I exit out of this? Let's see. Okay, let's go all the way back. Gotta scroll all the way up. Let's see. So I can't exit out of, it's interesting, Liz, I can't exit out of presentation mode. So let me share screen. Okay, it's 12:02. Let's see. So yeah, welcome everybody. I don't know if Deanna's joined us yet, but if not, I guess we could just go and get started.
I just texted her.
Okay.
Or not texted, I am'd her. So.
Oh, great. Thanks, Gina. We should probably get started. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Michael Oy. I'm the Associate Director for CommUniverCity. I'm also the Interim Executive Director while Catherine Cushing is away on sabbatical leave. And I'm also a Materials Engineering Lecturer. We also have Elizabeth Figueroa and Matthew Snyder here too. Want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Figueroa. I am the Special Programs Coordinator for CommUniverCity, and I have been with the organization for 10 years. Matt?
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Snyder, and I'm the admin for CommUniverCity. I've been with CommUniverCity for about less than a year.
Welcome.
Okay,
right.
so we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're really glad that you're here, and Matt's gonna go ahead and give us the rest of the introduction.
Sure. Thank you, Liz. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. So we're so glad you guys can join us today. We're super excited to meet new faculty, especially during such interesting times. Today, we'll convey how students can become connectors through community-engaged classrooms. Next slide.
Great, thanks, Matt. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna address 3 questions. Dr. Oy, am I able to control your screen? I'm requesting.
Okay, let's do remote control. Yeah, I'm gonna hit approve, so you should be able to control it now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are you in present mode? There you go. So what we'll be answering today are 3 questions. The first question is, how will your students become connectors? The second, how will your students become connectors? For example, how will what they learn in class be used or implemented in the community? The second question is going to be, how can service learning connect course curriculum to student outcomes? So for example, how deeply can out of class and in community assignments impact their learning? And the third question will be, are there opportunities for course curriculum or for research opportunities? And an example of this would be, can interacting with community members during community engaged projects glean more detailed or impactful information for research? And I'm going to hand it over to Matt to introduce our wonderful video here.
All right, everybody. So before we continue, let's take 2 minutes to hear from our stakeholders about their CommUniverCity experience.
And can you please let us know if you can hear the video okay as Matt plays it, if there's any problems?
CommUniverCity San Jose helps to build great, thriving neighborhoods throughout our city by partnering with residents, community service organizations, businesses, City Hall, and of course, San Jose State University.
The lemons here from regular trees are fresh, and the ones from the store have chemicals on them.
To my mom, she would want to buy like white bread, and I would say, like, no, let's go over here and get like whole grain.
Through CommUniverCity projects, our students connect with local children and create a college-going culture in San Jose. All participants learn that they have the power to change the world in very meaningful ways.
This class was definitely one of the more different classes I've ever taken, in the sense that we weren't given hypothetical business, but we were actually given somebody's life and somebody's real business.
Lo que a mí me ayudó bastante antes de que yo comenzara con los estudiantes, lo que a mí me ayudó fue ellos que me dijeron que buscara muchas ideas, darme ideas que yo jamás había pensado.
I think there should be more projects like this, where college students are able to see that this is a bigger world that we live in than just us, and to apply our talents and our degree to something greater than who we are.
Education extends beyond the boundaries of our classrooms. Engaged students gain practical knowledge while developing a sense of social responsibility.
I'm so grateful for the work CommUniverCity has led for the last decade here in San Jose.
Great. I know it's probably the first time you all are watching the video, but every time I see that clip of the healthy bread, right, I just can't help but smirk or smile, because you're telling your parents to buy healthier bread when they should already know, right? But that's kind of the learning that comes out of the projects. CommUniverCity, anyway, at CommUniverCity, we believe that everyone deserves to live in vibrant and healthy communities. We are unique and we are place-based. And all that means is that if you take a little pin on a map and you draw a string around for a mile, a radius of 1.5 miles around the campus, that is where we operate. That is where we focus our efforts and our energy, so much energy. And so because we are unique and place-based, we get a lot of feedback and take our cues, I should say, from the community. They help us drive a lot of our project ideas. We've been working with the community for about 15 years. We started not technically as an organization, but now we are an organization. So they've been with us for the whole ride. And so we've just connected with more and more people in the neighborhoods. We also have as one of our core partners, San Jose State, or you. We leverage the people power, your students, the expertise of you. So your expertise, your people power. And with all of that together, we're able to execute or implement 30 projects on average, depending on the pandemic status, per semester. So that's a lot of help. Literally, our work is not possible without students and faculty. And finally, our other core partner is the City of San Jose. They help us advocate for and collaborate with our communities. And on average, there's a lot of neighborhood associations in the downtown area, but depending again on the year or the semester, we work with about 15 neighborhoods regularly. Okay, and then Matt's gonna tell us a little bit more about this next slide.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for being here. So let's take a second or 5 to let us know who's in the chat and which department you're joining us from. If you see anyone from your department you haven't met, say hello. All right.
We see a lecturer in English. Hello, Eric Johnson.
Awesome.
Marketing, we work with some marketing classes. That's great. CDS, College of Education, we work a lot with schools. Most of our work is with schools, so that's really great. Public health. Yeah. Oh, I'm a recreation major. I don't know how long you've been there, but it was a while ago that I graduated.
So if you take a look at this,
Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
If you take a look at the slide, everyone you see on this list, students, faculty, administrators, have helped us achieve what you'll see in the next slide. All right, so in our 15 years of developing into the organization we are today, all of our partners, like the nearly 23,000 students and the 432 hours they have invested in numerous projects that nearly 120 residents have benefited from as a result of their interaction with university students, faculty, and administrators. So let's think about this. That's 30 projects per semester, 60 per academic year. And across our 15 years, we've got 900 collaborative projects. And all that really means is that we have nearly 1,000 instances of coordinating projects under our belt. So let's ease into what some of these projects are.
Well, so now our projects are categorized into 3 groups. The first group we call the Engage projects, and you can read here what the Engage projects consist of, but a couple of examples of projects that we have that fall into this Engage group is Growing Sustainably, and it's involving Professor Lynn Trujillo over in the Environmental Resource Center, or part of Environmental Studies 181, Environmental Resource Center. It also involves an example of a project called Sammy Play, which includes Assistant Professor Sunko Chang, and he's from kinesiology, and we'll talk more about that today, involving his classes, Kinesiology 165 and 265, Advanced Motor Development. And you see Sunko over there in the striped shirt as part of this project.
All right, and so the second competency is Learn. Social issues theater is quite a story of sales engineering action, which we'll dive into a little bit later. But the short of it all is that these are some of the projects where both service learners and our youngest community members wrap up the semester with strong connections to teach each other with an eye to the future.
Thanks so much, Matt. The third competency is Build. For those of us who have led or helped support these projects, we can only say how motivating it is to see the final results of the input from so many community members who have something to say about the positive changes they want to see in their communities. And of course, for this work to happen, schedules have to align, right? Like you can't do one thing and then wait for someone to come do it 3 months later. And so what happens is we have a more or less of an average timeline that classes go through. So let's use, in order for us to pull out some of these spectacular projects. So let's use the Viva Gaia project as an example. This was definitely pre-pandemic, and I believe it was about 2018 or so. So what happens with a course on average is that we identify classes, right? So for Viva Gaia, we had, yes, Sociology 104, Quantitative Research Methods. We also had Political Science 195, Political Inquiry, along with urban planning students doing qualitative surveys. And we even had a sprinkling of some economic students in there. So we have identified the classes, right? Because it was a really big project. And so after we identify the classes, once the semester starts, we actually go and visit these students and we say, hey, we're CommUniverCity. This is what we do, kind of like the spiel you just heard, and also what to expect from the project and how it's not going to be your average class, right? And so then after we do the visit, we, or the professor kind of takes over because it's their class, your class, and you have the students go to the library and do research and research whatever your class is going to be. But in this case, the research was about surveying community members and also about open streets, because the surveys were going to be about Viva Gaia, where miles and miles of roads are closed. And so the goal of the project is to determine whether the cost of the event, like police closing the streets, it's expensive, right? So the goal was, with the help of these students, was going to be to figure out, is it worth it? Is the cost worth closing off all of these streets for the handoffs that we get, right? The trade-offs, like better health, the overall environment, things like that. And so that's what the students were doing with the research. And so what CommUniverCity does in the background to help support the class is that we print the trilingual surveys. We partner with the city to make sure that the survey is good and ready to go, that it has the information that they want on there. And then what happens after the library research is a data collection. We also plan for that in the background. So here you see more clipboards than we know what to do with these days, that we prepare for the students. So we printed the surveys and now we put them together on clipboards for the students. And we assemble some bags for the students for their data collection. So they have everything ready and set to go on the big day. So the data gets collected. There are 1,600 responses. So usually when we're looking at the timeline here, I didn't give specific weeks because it's totally up to you, right? But this is generally what happens. So week 1, class visit, weeks 2 and 3, library research, or maybe even 4, and content, other content. Data collection usually ends up around the 6th week or later, even between 6 and 12, we'll say 10. And then the data entry itself was 2 weeks later, right? So it took them 2 class periods to enter into the software, all of the data that they gathered. So they worked on demographic data, a bunch of cool stuff. And then they also did the analysis of the data that they entered. So they got really intimate with the data they collected from actual real people who were out and about and took the time to answer them. Then the grand prize, if you will, was for them to present their findings at City Hall. So they did all the work, they got to present the work, their analysis, their data, their charts, their forms, all of the good stuff for the grand prize of being able to sit in front of lots of people in City Hall with a good lunch, sitting less than a foot away from each other, which will never happen today. But we try to do it in whatever format we can. Because the experience is still needed. And then what you just saw pop up was 2 things: participatory action research and civic engagement. On top of our competencies, engage, learn, build, we also have implementation approaches. And this project fell under both participatory action because they were engaging with the community, and civic engagement, we were asking the community to work with us. And then similar to that, what you see here is Professor Sarah McGaffey is addressing students, middle school youth, to tell them, to basically generate a conversation on what her students just presented to the kids. And what they presented was privilege and power. So they talked about dynamics in society and what it's like for some people versus other people, etc. So what these 2 projects offer are live audiences of different types, right? So totally into the spectrum as far as age and profession goes. One's a professional student and then others are professionals in the work field. The students here were 150 middle school students. The class was COM 21 and there were 30 COM 21 students. So that conversation took place, and here is where we actually are able to answer some of the questions. But the moral of the story is that with this deep dive is that you are the students, what the students get out of service learning is that they can find their place in what they want to do. They develop their professional skills in what they are studying, and they can add them to their resume. I have seen many LinkedIn requests to add to resumes and requests for letters of recommendation, etc. And happily I do it for those who are good. And so for the quiz questions that we asked you at the very beginning, how do your students become connectors, and how does a course curriculum connect to the outcomes, right? So take a few seconds, maybe 5-10 seconds to place in the chat, how are they connectors, the students, by giving a performance to middle school students about a topic that needs a conversation that needs to be had, right? So we'll give you a chance to put in there, how are they connecting to the community, and then how did the course content, which is public speaking, fit into the student outcomes for this course?
Right. And so I guess I'll just kind of add on to that a little bit on the second question. So asking, so how did service learning connect Sarah McGaffey's course curriculum to student outcomes? Well, you know, if you've got someone enrolled in Sarah's class, and it's a comm class, if you have a live audience to practice to, or to work with, do you think that the SJSU students are going to get more out of it than if they're just talking to themselves, right? If they're talking to a real live audience, right, as part of the class, and then also the participants in this case here, the community members, right, the local elementary school kids, they also had these one-on-one opportunities to meet with Sarah's students. So that was also another way where you can actually connect to the community and learn more about the course content. And so in that case, really the connectors in that case really were Sarah's students.
That's right. And I will also add the part about the college students meeting with the kids. So one of the things that our organization was charged with when we started and had focus groups at the very beginning was that they wanted a college going culture for their kids to know that it is possible to go to college. So again, in that way, yes, they connected course curriculum, but they also connected themselves to the kids so that the kids can see themselves in the future going to college, because someone who is there and speaking to them and looks like them is having a conversation with them. Technically, they did college for a day. So in that way, that's how the Sarah McGaffey students became connectors to the community. And for the course outcome, they got to have the conversation, right? They practiced their public speaking, they practiced their facilitation skills with the kids. So those are those two questions about students becoming connectors. And again, we'll get to the RSCA question later on. Dr. Joy, do you want to talk about student impact?
Yeah, again, so yeah, thanks, Liz. So just following up again on, just all of this really is impacting for our SJSU students. What can we do with CommUniverCity and having the students serving as connectors for the community and to course curriculum to benefit them, right? And in turn, of course, benefit us as faculty, because we are looking to educate the students. So some of you may know some of the people here. Stacy Gleixner, she's now over at West Valley, but she's a former professor in materials engineering and the former associate vice president. Pat Backer, some of you may know her, and Elena Claw, but they did a study back in June 2011 where they looked at 269 CommUniverCity service learning students. And after the study, they found that the students, after they engaged in the service learning activities, had gains in leadership, commitment, and future service plans. There was more coursework engagement, right? Something that we as faculty are certainly interested in doing. And having an increase in self-reported understanding of the course material. And I'll talk a little bit more about that with an example of what I incorporate in my class. And of course, the students had more confidence and motivation to be a significant member of the society. So again, really the theme of connecting, right? It's the theme of connecting all of those different aspects using the projects that we have with CommUniverCity. So next slide, please. So the project I've been involved with is Engineering in Action. I've been teaching Introduction to Materials Engineering, the MATI 25, every single semester since January of 2009. And it never gets boring, to believe it or not, every single semester. And I started incorporating the Engineering in Action project with CommUniverCity around 2012. And I'm going to talk about that right now. I think I can actually control the slides. Yeah, I am going to control. So here's just a screenshot of a news piece that we had in our College of Engineering a webpage back in 2013. Materials engineering students take hands-on learning activities to after-school youth programs. And so you can see the SJSU students here, they're interacting with the local kids. The next slide here is more recent. It's from 2018. Picture of my SJSU students from Maddie 25. Again, just interacting with the kids. You can see the enthusiasm on the kids' faces when they're doing some engineering demonstrations. And this is 2018. So last year, or I guess a year and a half ago, we were in our 15th anniversary celebration at the Student Union, and Mayor Sam Liccardo stopped by, and our engineering students had a chance to do a demonstration for him while he was there. So this is all of them. Okay. So we have a video here. It's about a minute, and it's involving a description of the Engineering in Action project. So again, please let me know if you can't hear the video.
One would imagine that students living in the middle of the Silicon Valley have access to the best STEM education. In reality, many K-12 school students in downtown San Jose lack enrichment programs like CommUniverCity's Engineering in Action project.
SJSU engineering students not only have an opportunity to inspire younger generations in STEM, but also have an opportunity to take what they learned in their courses and explain technical subjects to non-technical people.
Each year, Engineering in Action pairs on average about 750 youth with 200 college students who develop and deliver approximately 10 hands-on lessons for the kids. Engineering in Action is indeed a different kind of STEM education, one with a special college connection that helps youth keep an eye to the future, a STEM future.
Great. So we got that video. So that's Nicole Albilar, and that was actually one of Professor Catherine Cushing's students who did lead that for us. Oh, sorry, I meant to play next. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So again, Engineering in Action. It's just taking the science, technology, engineering, and math education and taking it into the local under-resourced youth in the local downtown San Jose area. And it's just this hands-on demonstrations. And the reason, again, why I would like to do that is because it's an opportunity for my students to be able to teach a technical subject to non-technical people, right? So it's connecting school with college. It's really good because, a lot of times we can have these group projects for our classes. And, as Stacy Gleixner used to always say, you can write up a term paper and it goes no farther than the professor's desk. Right. But this is an opportunity where what the SJSU students do is that they are involving a live audience, kind of like what Liz was talking about with the live audience of Sarah McGaffey's class. It's an opportunity to actually connect and talk to real people. And a lot of times when our students are going to go and graduate, they're not going to be working in a group project where you're taking a class with everyone in the same major. You're going to have to work with, customers. You're going to have to work with competitors. And not all of them are going to be talking the same lingo as you do in your field. So this is a good opportunity to be able to practice that. It's also an opportunity to practice and inspire the next generation and get engaged in the community. And of course, the community benefit because this is an opportunity for them to have a connection with SJSU students. So it's really great for them. They can learn things that they might not have otherwise be taught in their local elementary schools. Right. So I like to kind of think of it like this, right? This is just the learning pyramid. I got the citation down here. That's just more representative, and I'm only going to talk about the top and the bottom parts of this. If you think about knowledge retention for the kid or for SJSU students, right? Like we teach them things in the class. What percentage of that are they going to absorb if we just teach them? So on the top end, if we only teach if I teach only the technical subject, if I only teach the fundamentals, if I just only teach in the classroom and I only lecture, the students are only going to absorb maybe about a 5% or just a small fraction of it. But if they can actually go and do something, if they can actually get involved, if they can go and teach others, if they can take the subject matter that we're covering in our class and learn how to connect to others, they're going to actually retain a lot more of that information, right? So having this community connected classroom is an opportunity for us, faculty, to be able to enhance our curriculum in the classroom to be able to teach our SJSU students much more effectively, right? So this is one of the reasons why I like to do it. I do have group projects, right? So a lot of what we do is involving groups. And this is kind of getting into the nitty gritty, and I only bring this up because some faculty I've spoke to brought up some hesitation because of, just sometimes you have to mediate disputes, right? Whenever you have these group projects. Here's a meme here, right? Where every group project you've ever done in school involves one person who does 99% of the work, another one who has no idea what's going on the whole time, another one who says he's going to help but doesn't, another one who disappears at the very beginning but doesn't show up until the very end. So some ways I try to get to address this, is before the students get into a group, before you sometimes even assign the groups, I'll try to assign them an individual topic so that they get a chance to think about it themselves independently, right? Because I think what happens a lot of times when you get into a group is one person comes up with an idea and everyone says, yeah, hey, that's a great idea, let's run with it. And then now, the other people don't really own it. They don't have any ownership on it, so that's one thing I try to do. And in addition to the other group projects, literature review, demonstration proposal, hands-on demonstration, but also the survey and feedback. I tell them up front that I'm going to grade them individually. I'll do things like say, I'm going to assign everybody 100 points, and you can go ahead and divvy up the points based on how you think that the grade should be distributed or those points should be distributed after the project. Now, between us, I've never actually used that for grading purposes, but I've used it more as a tool to help keep people motivated and not have to mediate any disputes in the group projects. And it's actually worked pretty well. I haven't had as much disputes rising up in my projects. And again, I've been doing this every semester for the past 10 years. And the more and more of these little tricks I implement, it seems to be getting better and better. In terms of having to mediate the disputes. But I think at the end of the semester, the students really benefit from this. And I have a video here from a student testimonial after we did one of the projects. So I'll let him talk about it. Can I get your feedback on what the project was for all of you and like what it meant to go out to the community and to reach out to the kids? And any thoughts that any of you might have for that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess as engineering students, I feel like it's pretty easy to like get caught up in like reading just textbooks and solving problems. So I think when we get to go out and like interact with like kids and have fun like that, it sort of teaches us that there's more to like, school than just reading books. It's actually like getting to connect with some of the younger kids and show them that like learning can be fun. And I like that a lot.
I personally found that I was very interested to see the kids so enthusiastic and just enjoying what we were teaching them. I was very impressed by some of them knowing what we were going to teach them already at such young ages. For example, we had a second grader teach us a game that she had learned phase changes, so from solid to liquid to gas. And I feel like these students, if they are given like more resources and guidance, they'll be able to do so much because of what I've seen today.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you very much for coming out. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right, so that was some student testimonial there. All right, so we have some quiz questions. I'll turn it over to Liz for leading some quiz questions.
Yeah, and before we do that, I just want to draw everyone's attention to the chat. They've probably already seen it, but we had a few people kind of also add on to what you do too. So Catherine Harris tells us that it's super helpful to teach how to collaborate in teams instead of groups.
Oh, great, thank you.
And then about her project-based courses and being aware of each other's strengths. So that's really awesome. And she has a rubric that they get at the outset of how they're going to be graded. And then someone from the digital arts, or same person actually, sorry, in the digital humanities is it's important for them to be able to work and let them know what it means to work in teams. Yes, great points. Thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing all of that.
So contributions. Yeah, and thanks, Liz, for reading those off the chat. I'm not monitoring the chat because I'm sharing the screen. So thanks for monitoring it, and thank you to those who did contribute for those for those suggestions. Thank you.
Yes, that was great. Thank you. So now for the quiz questions, we are going to get into. Oh, yeah, here we go. So again, how are Dr. Oi's students being connectors? You kind of heard some of them speak there. Towards the end. Does anybody want to take a stab at maybe inserting something into the chat about how Dr. Oi's students were being connectors from the university to the community? And it can be a specific example of what you saw. It can be how maybe they were connecting with each other in their class setting. And then the second question is about how did service learning, so service learning are the students coming outside of the classroom into the community, in this case, after school programs, right? How did that connect to Dr. Oi's course of material engineering 25 curriculum to the student outcomes? For example, is it possible that, well, actually they told you right there at the end of the video, right? Like they were really surprised that the kids knew this much and that they were there to teach them. So both the kids in the elementary school and then the San Jose State students learned from each other. So that was one of the outcomes. Anybody have anything that we might not have already thought about? Okay, well, we'll see what we can think of later on because we have an activity coming up. Okay, so oh, it's just a really long thing. Okay, we're really interested in all these presentations. New director of public programming. University to community, yes, we actually participated in the Humanities and Arts San Jose. Thank you, Catherine. Yes, so very interested in connecting with others and in attendance today. Yes, definitely, let's connect because I really enjoyed the Humanities and Arts San Jose event that we did. Okay, so here we're gonna just talk about the research opportunities for faculty, right? So on CommUniverCity's end, professors or faculty who have coordinated or collaborated with us, we have 90 or 94 professional and scholarly presentations since 2011. Oh. And then about 21 journal articles and book chapters like the one you see on the right there. And in order for this research to happen, sometimes we're able to fund student assistance up to a certain amount. But the article screenshot that you see there from applied research to participatory action, and then the Spanish subheadline, ¿Y ahora qué? What are you going to do now that you've learned that you've been a part of a community leadership program, right? So that article was actually published by, or published in Practicing Anthropology by Professor AJ Foss. I believe AJ Foss came to the campus about 5 years ago. We actually got him in our hearts right when he arrived. And he met with our former executive director, Deanna Salazar, and they talked about how we could help each other because he was looking for certain things as far as his area of expertise is concerned. And then we were looking for certain things as far as building more bandwidth in the community of community leaders. So together they came up with basically something that he could work on to use for his research. And what he came up with is that, or they came up with together, I should say, is that we would recruit community members, experienced leaders, so people who have been involved in their neighborhood associations, who have done dumpster days, who have done the whole gamut, right? And as far down to the people who kind of just show up to help once in a while, and then people who are just kind of totally new out of nowhere. So we had those mix of people meet on Saturday mornings at a community center that we helped reserve for him. We brought the breakfast, and AJ really enjoyed the coffee beans a lot. He was maybe a little bit addicted to them right before he got started with the pile sorts. So what he did to gather his data are pile sorts, and in the article you see here, I believe it's accessible through the University JSTOR. But what he did was create pile sorts of different things, and he had community members write down different things about their experiences as leaders, what they enjoyed so far, what they need help with, how they are able to be leaders. And because there were different levels of leaders in the room, very much leaders and not so much leaders, we got different answers. And so in this paper, he kind of outlines what came out of there. Some things were surprising, some not so much, but it was a great read. So 5 years later, we're here still doing the actual community leadership program itself and training community members to be leaders in their own communities, keeping in mind the research that AJ conducted to approach our curriculum for those lessons. Our latest version of the community leadership program is actually taught by Carolina Prado, who'll be going on sabbatical, so we're going to miss her. But yes, AJ has his article. He had the help of 5 students that he credits at the end of the article, and even co-authored part 2 with a community member, Maria Marcelo. So that's one way that research can be connected to a community project.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Liz. And briefly, I'll talk about Sung-Ho Chang's example here. And we have a link down here to select a list of recent publications and presentations involving CommUniverCity. Matt's working on that right now, the link. I was trying to, since I'm sharing screen, it's not easy for me to unshare the screen and then go find it. So Matt's working on getting that link to you in the chat, so you'll be able to get a list. Our executive director, Catherine Cushing, put that list together. She's again on sabbatical. She might actually be joining us right now, the participants, but that's going to be shared really soon. So the example with Assistant Professor Sung-Ho Chang, as I mentioned earlier, he teaches the kinesiology class. And so here's some examples of his class where he's teaching the emotional, social, and motor skill development for kids. Right. So he's got kinesiology SJSU students, and he's teaching them about how to teach emotional growth and how to teach social growth and how to teach development skills. And what better way to do it than to actually teach them to real kids, right? So you've got, local elementary school kids that Sung-Ho's students went out to teach. You see an example down here in the bottom of SJSU students teaching a kid how to throw a ball, and just looking at the mechanics of how do you throw a ball, how do you kick a ball, how do you catch a ball. There's a lot of those types of proper development skills that you can learn in kinesiology that is taught in this class. But also you see just, up in the top, just the social skills. So if some kid learns how to catch a ball properly, just to support them and say, good job, great catch, and that also helps to support the social interaction with kids as well. And he's working on publications from that data as part of his RSCA activities. So, a lot of the CommUniverCity projects, again, it's all tied not only to the community, it's not only tied to the classes, it's not only tied to the students going out and learning to subject matter in their classes, but also to RSCA activities, to research and publication. So there's a lot of connections here that's involved with that. So let me move to the next slide. And I think this one here is going to be kind of summarizing, and Liz is going to talk about the kind of a summary of what we've been discussing.
Yeah, so every syllabus has outcomes, right? What should be the course outcomes that are, and they're very neatly outlined there. But what are some outcomes for community engaged classrooms? Some of the outcomes that we have are that community engaged projects create more engaged students and hopefully more inspired faculty. And we have actually had that. So we've had some conversations with faculty and they just love it. Like Dr. Joy, 10 years he's been doing it, he doesn't get tired of it. So there's that. And then there's also the outcome of enhanced opportunities for research opportunities with live audiences, right? So it's not just live audiences for the students, but how in depth do you want to get? Earlier, like in a couple of slides ago, I mentioned that Carolina is going on sabbatical, but she's also been working the last few years since she took over the program from AJ to meet regularly with the community members, even after the program. Like, what did you get leadership wise out of the program? Is it working for you? Are you continuing to use what you've learned in the program? So she's keeping very much in touch with them. And all of that is just because of a community connection that we made with the participants to join the program. And then Carolina kind of took it over to continue using for her research. So that's one example. And then honestly, the benefits to the community are one of the outcomes. There are not desks in the community on the streets or anything like that, but the lasting effect is going to be there, right? Of students visiting elementary schools and being a college student who looks like a second grader, and being able to share with them something cool that's science-based, or maybe trigger something that the kid is really good at, So there's that kind of community benefit, not just to the immediate neighborhood, but overall, like, what is this elementary or middle school student going to take with them to the future? And then obviously the SJSU strategic vision, engaged classrooms are part of that. So those are some of the outcomes. And oops, went too fast. So I'm sorry, I forgot, am I doing this? I am, right? So what does it take for a CommUniverCity project to actually happen? One, we need to have a community need. On the left, you see writing partners. So you have a San Jose State student who is from a sociology class and wrote 3 letters to the students on the left, who was a 5th grader, I believe. So and she also wrote 3 letters. So a total exchange of 6 letters. We did the back and forth delivery and all of that good stuff. But the point of that project was to satisfy the community need for a couple of things. One, for students to appreciate the art of handwriting letters still. 2, to have a college friend and to see that college is possible. And 3, for them to know that college, well, it's the same thing, but college is possible. But also on the other end, the college student, as a sociology student, good writers, some better than others in college. I understand from professors that I hear from. But in the sociology class specifically, they have assignments that talk about how about what they should say to the student, like your barriers to college, what are their future plans, what are your hobbies mixed in there with some fun, right? But ultimately the goal is for them to, the class is socialization and identity. And that's just one way and I can see that becoming research, but at the moment it's just a writing partners course, but it's really fun. And then, or the second community need could be urban planning students. We need someone to go out and find out what all of our neighbors or many of our neighbors want to see as far as changes in our community. I mentioned that earlier when I talked about Viva Calle. And then on the right side, you see the community leadership program in action. And the second thing that needs to be present in our projects is that map you see there in the middle left. It has to be in the downtown service area, maybe possibly immediately surrounding the downtown area. But definitely that's where all of our efforts are focused. And the middle, again, you see community health, AKA engage, neighborhood revitalization, build, and then college going culture and or education for learn. And obviously the last thing that we would need for a project to happen for the expertise is of the topic itself is a faculty member. So that could be you, it could be John De La Cruz, who you see there with his paddle because he goes paddleboarding, I think, every day. He's beat his record many times. So a faculty member, and that's how we get a CommUniverCity project. So that's how CommUniverCity projects are born. And so what we'd like to do now, I believe, Doctor, unless you have anything to add before we move on.
Oh, no.
Okay, so Matt's going to put for us in the chat a link to Jamboard. I'm not sure if any of you have ever had the chance to check it out, but if you could click on collaboration considerations, Dr. Oy, we'll see what the Jamboard looks like and see who's joining us. And it should work because we tested it many times. But go ahead and click on the Jamboard and we'll scroll through some of these boards. So the first one, if you have not used Jamboard, we'll use this time to practice. So first of all, very important question we have to know, what are your fabulous weekend plans? So there's a couple of things you could do. First, you'll see where Dr. Oy has his the pointer hovering. There's a Post-it note there. You can click on it and start typing. The sticky note in particular is mainly for paragraph writing. You can change the colors. And then if you look further down on the other options, you see that you can add an image. If you kind of like an inspiration board or a vision board, if you will, you can add shapes. And then the second from the bottom that has a little T in it is a text box, and that will allow you to add lines. So what have you got going on? We have some grading going on because it is April, almost May, right? Relax and work on my garden. Good. And then meeting up with a friend from college. Both of us are SJSU alumni. Yay! I just saw a headline. The poli-sci department does a great job of promoting their alumni about Evan Lowe, who's an alumni also. Sitting in on the Sacred Heart Solidarity Summit, making pizza with fully vaccinated friends. I'm trying to keep someone I know from falling off the deep end with paranoia, but we'll work on it. And drip irrigation, that sounds very detailed. Hiking, oh, I miss hiking. I had to get back to hiking. Great stuff. So it looks like we got the hang of it. So now, and also, oh yeah, well, so we'll go on to the next one. And so what we have here, it's a very similar exercise to what we did at the beginning, but just tell us where you are. Who are you? What department are you in? You can add a sticky, you can add a text box, and include it in your college there. And I believe we got all of them. Okay, so we have Mike in engineering, twice. Oh, Allison, Matt, can you put the link again to the Jamboard?
Yes, I can. It's in there. Allison, I'll also send it to you privately.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have that. So we have Mike from engineering who has, there's a few more. Charles Park, Public Health and Recreation. Thank you. Marcella, right? Marcella from Communications Disorders, Sciences, and a bit of leadership. Marcella, have done a project called Segue, Social Emotional Growth for Area Youth with Capriati. And his students, psychology, I believe they were master's students, went in and gave a lesson on bullying because the school requested it. So we were able to give for a couple of semesters in a row lessons to kids about bullying and how to handle it and how to address it. Public health, there's a ton. Dr. Do you see all the ones that are popping up? Okay.
Yeah, wow.
And then applied data science, analytics, College of Business. We are working with an organizational management behavior course right now to do Young Entrepreneurship Academy, which is another one of our projects. So they're teaching the kids how to design a product or business idea, among other things like managing teams, etc. And the kids seem to know a lot. They're really surprised by how much the kids know. So it's pretty great. So we got a lot of awesome answers there. Should we move on to the next one, Dr. Oy? Thank you, everybody, for answering. And then we have, so this one. So let's say this presentation is over, you're giving it some thought. Maybe you have experience, maybe you don't. But if you were to think of a project idea, what would it be? Would it be that you're going to try to address a community need you've observed? Is it a research project you maybe have been thinking about, like a question you want answered? Or what are you thinking as far as like a project idea? Just throw it out there. Obviously, it's not going to happen like tomorrow. But if you had the chance of thinking of a project idea, or maybe you have already done a project, what is it? Let us know. Use the stickies, use the text box, whatever you want to use, and just put it in there. Okay. And so this Jamboard, you should be able to access at any time, and we can PDF it and send it to everybody just so you have more inspiration for later on. But this is just brainstorm. Yeah.
Yeah, so Liz, I think since we only have a few more Jamboard slides here, and I think the next ones are like grouping into engage, learn, and build. Maybe we'll slow down and take a moment here. Maybe just ask if anyone maybe wants to even throw it in the chat or just unmute and maybe just talk. And we have about 10 minutes. We don't really have anything else in the slides. The last thing we had in our slides was just kind of talking about that's also activity. We've for our social media, and that's it. So we're pretty much. Yeah, we don't have any more slides. So really just we'd like to spend some time today. It's kind of this workshop and it's just seeing how can we help? I mean, is there any way we can get some connections to your class, your RSCA activities, and can that help the community, and can the community help your work? So it's really, again, acting as connectors. So maybe we'll take a moment here and see if there's any way where, like, if you have a course that might be beneficial. I think our next few slides are what kind of courses you might have, or maybe what courses you teach. So if you don't have anything in this one, we can go to the next one and ask what kind of classes you teach. But I'll just want to take a moment here and ask. Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to really quickly, the pairing students with local businesses or organizations, was that you, Dr. Oy, or was that someone else?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay. Because that's a good idea that we constantly talk about, like how can we help local businesses with their websites so that they can improve their business, right? Thanks, Allison. So yeah, that's literally exactly the kind of thing we're looking for, because one thing that we do right now that I wish had went a little bit deeper was we have marketing students or advertising students, depending on the semester, work with local super small businesses on how to basically to do advertising, social media stuff, create campaigns for them that they can use themselves, and teach them how to use stuff like Adobe products and things like that. But as far as actually revamping website, we've only done that before with MIS students. And we kind of just ran out of ideas for ourselves. And so what we do in those instances is we find the client, we tell them about the commitment that it takes, how many times they have to meet with students, and stuff like that. And then by the end of the semester, they have a product and also like an instructional list on how to do it. So if that sounds along the lines of what you might be thinking, maybe we can talk more about that. In the meantime, unless you have other questions, we can move on to the next Jamboard. Dr. Roy?
Sure. Okay.
So the next question would be, where is your project? Is it here in town? Is it in another state? Is it downtown? Where would you want your project to be if you were to think of a project to address a community need?
So some examples I put in here, I should probably say Rick Koss's example, because Rick talks, because they didn't actually put this in here. Rick Koss's example he teaches in the urban planning program, and what they do every semester is they select a local community where they can try to get feedback from them and help the local community develop an urban planning document that the community can then use to advocate for their needs. And that community planning document includes things like housing, what their needs are, what their the development plans are. It could be transportation issues. It could be anything, crime issues. It could be anything that's related to just urban planning, and putting it all into a professionally created document that they can then go and use to advocate for their needs, whether it be the city council or whether with companies and so forth. But he helps the community by having his SJSU enrolled students go out and facilitate community planning meetings and information gathering and so forth. So that's an example where that's kind of out there, and in the Alum Rock, it's a little bit outside of our traditional area, but I wanted to list that because although, as Liz and Catherine say, if you drop a pin at San Jose State and a radius of 1.5 miles, it's typically where we serve. But it doesn't mean that we couldn't at least have a conversation about potential projects outside.
Okay, great. So it looks like we're not maybe that far ahead in the thinking of a project process, but so if we'll move on to the next one.
There's one here. So my program and students are all online, but we could work virtually. Okay. So
yes.
All right.
We've been doing that. We actually this week are doing CommUniverCity clubs where we have spent an entire week of having different programs with rocket ship elementary students, and even second graders are talking about how to make fiberglass because that's what they learned from the students. So we had 2 days of engineering in action. So the projects that Dr. Oy does, we had that on Monday and Tuesday, and we just had breakout rooms, and there were someone live demonstrated 3D printing. So you can imagine that was the most popular one. And then on the third day, we did Young Entrepreneurs Academy. So we did another interactive. One of the teams actually used Jamboard to help get the kids' ideas collected. And then we had engineering in action again on Thursday because 200 students. So there's plenty to go around. And today we're actually doing environmental education with rocket ship students. So we just put the word out, and we ended up getting 200 signups from families of rocket ship across 10 of their schools in the area. So it was our first time we tried CommUniverCity Club, and we are thinking it might be a good thing to continue if we stay virtual as one of the options for students and the kids. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll click on the next one here, but we only have about 5 minutes left. So whether it be adding ideas in the Jamboard, or if you want to unmute and talk, or add something in the chat, whatever means you feel is best to answer your questions, or to facilitate discussion. This is just only one way, but please, by all means, any way we can at least spark some ideas where we can follow up later after the meeting. I think Deanna had gotten a collection of all the registrations, right? So we can follow up certainly after after our meeting here in this hour, afterwards by email, and perhaps have other meetings separately. If we were in person, Catherine always says we have coffee in our office. We're over in Clark 105, and Catherine says, "Come join us. We'll have coffee together and discuss your interest." But immediately, I guess it'll be over Zoom. But we still would love to meet with you. So, however, the best way is to suggest ideas. So please add, whether you want to add suggestions on the Jamboard here or unmute. Ideas. Sorry, Liz. Is there anything in the chat? Since I'm sharing, I can't monitor the chat. So
no, not yet. But I just want to share again for the Engage projects. We have projects that seek to benefit residents by expanding and improving capacity for better health, or better community health, I should say. So we got Sammy Play and the Growing Sustainably that has the Cooking Matters and all those great things, right? So that's under Engage / Community Health and Environment. And then for the second section, you have Learn, which is education and college going culture. So can you see your students working with kids, either teaching them or like in writing partners, you're trying to glean information from them, and you meet for the first time at the end of the semester. So there's that kind of thing. So there are projects that support the creation of a college going culture using the SJSU student experience as a living lab, and then enhancing curricular instruction in English, STEM, or social sciences, etc. And then the build option is projects that address urban infrastructure issues. And they seek to direct city resources to community aspirations. So those are the three categories, if that kind of prompts you to think of anything to add. But other than that, I think our next one is just about who you would imagine leading the project. Would it be you? Would it be a colleague that you are here to kind of gather information for? Who would lead the project? So those are questions that we ask, and they're related to what it takes to make a CommUniverCity project, right? A community need, the service area, a focus area or a competency that we describe, Engage, Learn, Build, and a faculty member. And that would be a CommUniverCity project. So something to chew on for the weekend or the rest of the semester as you're grading or hiking or running or doing your gardening, all that great stuff. Dr. Oy?
Yeah, we're always happy to meet with you afterwards too. So let me maybe we can just go back to the main slide deck, because I think you had some closing slides on there. Let me see if I can go back. This is not the one. It's this one right here. So this one here and the next slide are really just our closing slides. It's just really to consider these collaborations, and we're happy to meet with you. We'll drop you an email and see if there's any interest in perhaps discussing further after this hour is over. But we have a lot of different activities that are going on. We really look forward to working with you. This is our contact info, and again, I'm Michael Oy, and you heard from Liz and you heard from Matt. And of course, service learning courses, which would surprisingly turn into one of the most rewarding and enlightening experiences of my entire undergraduate career. And in my SOTs, I also get feedback from the students about, I was a little skeptical at first about, a required service learning part as part of the class, but I was pleasantly surprised, and it turned out to be an incredibly rewarding experience. So I hear that a lot. So this is our contact information, and our next slide is just really saying thank you for being part of your afternoon, spending a part of your day with us over the past hour. And again, thank you to Deanna and Gina for helping to facilitate this, and especially to all the participants who took part in this. We have the registration list, so we'll certainly follow up, and you have our contact information. So if there's anything that we can do to help answer questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Yeah, thank you very much for spending the afternoon with us.
Thank you. So I guess we're sending the Jamboard, the list of public publishings, right? And then maybe the slides too?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Great.
And
Sounds great.
we'll probably send it out to the registration email that Deanna has when you sign up. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Oh, hey, Deanna, are you there? Oh, Deanna signed off. Okay.
Okay. Oh, so I think it's just us. So we got no and
Well, it's
Romy.
being recorded, so let me, yeah, okay, so let's, shall we just log off? Actually, I could probably stop the recording. Stop the recording.